All the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing this truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is Shabai from the GMS Denver camp. And I'm going to go in on Jeremiah 37. And this is just an example of persecution of the prophets. We know that the prophets of old were persecuted for their testimony of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, for delivering the truth. And we also know through the Holy Spirit that in this day and age, some of us, well, not some of it, all the prophets are going to face persecution to different degrees. Okay, so let's read this account on Jeremiah the 37th chapter. It says, "And King Zedekiah the son of Josiah reigned instead of Coniah the son of Jehoiakim, whom Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon made king in the land of Judah. But neither he nor his servants nor the people of the land did hearken unto the words of Yahweh, which he spake by the prophet Jeremiah." Does that sound familiar? Our people are still in this mindset where they don't listen to the Lord's prophets. They don't listen to the Lord's mouth. Okay. And Zedekiah the king sent Jehukal the son of Shelemiah and Zephaniah the son of Mosiah the priest to the prophet Jeremiah, saying, "Pray now unto Yahweh our power for us." And so they were asking the prophet Jeremiah to pray for them. Now Jeremiah came in and went out among the people, for they had not put him into prison. Then Pharaoh's army was come forth out of Egypt, and when the Chaldeans that besieged Jerusalem heard tidings of them, they departed from Jerusalem. All right, so the Pharaoh's army of Egypt was actually, they scared off the Chaldeans, who were the Babylonians. Okay, it says, "Then came the word of Yahweh unto the prophet Jeremiah, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, the power of Israel, Thus shall ye say to the king of Judah that sent you unto me to inquire of me, Behold, Pharaoh's army, which is come forth to help you, shall return to Egypt into their own land." Okay, so you don't trust in Egypt, because Egypt, yeah, they scared off the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, for a time, but through the Spirit, Jeremiah the prophet knew that those Babylonians were going to come back and basically capture and destroy the city and destroy our people. Okay, and come back to Jerusalem. And this is all punishment because our people turned away from Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. So there's always a price to pay when you're in the spirit of the heathen, or when you trust in the heathen. Okay, it says, "And the Chaldeans came again and fight against this city, and take it and burn it with fire. Thus saith Yahweh, Deceive not yourselves, saying, The Chaldeans shall surely depart from us, for they shall not depart." And this is the same thing with right now here in Babylon, America. Don't deceive yourself thinking that the so-called white man, the Edomite, thinking that he's got your back, thinking that he's not gonna try to put a wicked device in you. You sit here ignorantly, sit here saying like, "Oh, this country, the government would never allow that. The government's never gonna, mandate the micro C-hip," things like that. "Oh, the missiles will never be shot here towards America." Nobody wants nobody wants to do that. Go that route. That's how people believe. That's how they think. I've spoken to people who are outside of the truth, and that's their sentiment when it comes to the missiles. "Oh, they're never going to use those, man. They're never going to." No, man. The Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, He's the one who's going to put the spirit on these nations to shoot these missiles at each other. But, first there are other prophecies that have to come to pass. But let's continue on in Jeremiah 37:10. It says, "For though ye had smitten the whole army of the Chaldeans that fight against you, and there remained but wounded men among them, yet should they rise up every man in his tent and burn this city with fire." So Jeremiah knew through the Spirit that the Babylonians were still going to come back. And, they were scared off by the Pharaoh's army, the Egyptians, for a season. But he knew through the Spirit that they would return. Okay? And it came to pass that when the army of the Chaldeans was broken up from the Jerusalem for fear of Pharaoh's army, then Jeremiah went forth out to Jerusalem to go into the land of Benjamin to separate himself thence in the midst of the people. And when he was in the gate of Benjamin, a captain of the ward was there, whose name was Irijah, the son of Shelemiah, the son of Hananiah, and he took Jeremiah the prophet, saying, "Thou fallest away to the Chaldeans." All right, so this Benjaminite, Irijah, he was accusing Jeremiah the prophet of basically treason, saying that he was in cahoots, saying that Jeremiah was in cahoots with the Chaldeans, the Babylonians, right? And he was accusing him of that. Verse 14, "Then said Jeremiah, It is false. I fall not away to the Chaldeans." Meaning he's like, man, I'm not part of the Chaldeans. I'm not trying to be with the Babylonians, But he hearkened not to him. So Irijah took Jeremiah the prophet and brought him to the princes. All right? So he didn't believe the prophet Jeremiah. Wherefore the princes were wroth with Jeremiah and smote him and put him in prison in the house of Jonathan the scribe, for they had made that the prison. Okay. So they threw the prophet Jeremiah in the prison. And again, this is persecution, and really this is persecution from our own people. Okay. Because that's how the 2/3, they're in a fucked up mindset. They don't understand the prophecies. And when we tell them the truth, they get offended and they think we're the enemy. And that's why they threw Jeremiah the prophet into the prison at Jonathan's, the scribe's house, which they had made into a prison, it says. In verse 16, "When Jeremiah was entered into the dungeon and into the cabins, and Jeremiah had remained there many days, then Zedekiah the king sent and took him out, and the king asked him secretly in his house." All right? Because he was on the down low. He didn't want everybody to know that he was actually giving credence to the prophet Jeremiah. Right? It says, "And said, Is there any word from Yahweh? And Jeremiah said, There is. For said he, Thou shalt be delivered into the hand of the king of Babylon." You see how rough the prophets are? Jeremiah could have lied, and when he got, because the king brought him out of the prison, he could have lied and been like, "Yeah, man, everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be just fine." And that's what you Israelites, you 2/3, you expect us to lie. You expect the men of the Lord to lie and tell you a false narrative. You want us to tell you that Babylon's going to be healed. You want us to tell you that there ain't going to be no persecution, that there's not going to be no Jacob's trouble, that there's not going to be no mandatory micro RFID CHIP. You want us to speak. Yeah, let's get that verse. Speak soft, smooth things. You'd rather us tell you lies than the truth. All right, let's go to this precept in Isaiah 30 and 19. And when prophets, if a prophet is sitting there speaking smooth things to you, if that prophet doesn't have any integrity, because the scriptures is a book of destruction, lamentation, and woe, right? Mourning, lamentations, and woe. And it's not about sugarcoating things and tell you that this is going to be a prosperity and you're gonna be blessed forever, and that you're gonna you're never gonna have no trouble in the flesh, when it comes to dealing with these heathen, when it comes to Esau Edom and the persecution that he's about to bring. That's what you Israelites, you 2/3, you'd rather us tell you the lies then you get offended when we tell you what the truth is, the true prophecies. And again, you got to understand and remind yourself and remember, the reason why the tidings or the news that we bring is not all rainbows and butterflies, is because we're teaching according to the way as it is written. Okay, we're not teaching according to our own emotions or according to what we want it to be, or according to, go along to get along. No, we gotta deliver the prophecy, deliver the truth according to what has been scripted, according to what the Bible actually says. Okay, Isaiah 30:9. This is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of Yahweh. That's our people. Which say to the seers, and seer is another word for prophet, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits. You see, they don't want to speak, they don't want us to tell them the righteous, the things, which is the truth, the scripture. They'd rather hear deceits. They'd rather hear lies. Okay, this is that Fleetwood Mac verse. Tell me lies, tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Stevie Nicks, she was on that joint. So, hey, that's basically what this verse is. They want to be told lies. Our people don't want to be told the truth. Why? Because the truth is a hard pill to swallow, right? Let's go back to Jeremiah 37 and verse 8. It says, then Zedekiah the king, oh wait, I read that one. It says, moreover, Jeremiah said unto King Zedekiah, what have I offended against thee, or against thy servants, or against this people, that ye have put me in prison? He's like, Jeremiah, what did I do? All I did was tell the truth. All I did was tell the words of the Lord. And that's the persecution that the men of the Lord are going to have to face. Some of us are going to be put into prison. Yahushai had spoke on that, right? Let's get that account. Let's get that scripture. This is Matthew. So we have to build our spirit up, because some of us men of the Lord, some of us prophets, we're going to be dealing with these type of things, all right, where we're persecuted, we're put in prisons, we're put in FEMA camps, we're put in different situations that's going to be rough, right? It says Matthew 5:10, blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So that's the other thing we got to remember. If we go into a prison or into a FEMA camp, or they put us in jail, guess what? If we're doing it on behalf of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, for righteousness' sake, guess what? The kingdom belongs to us. All right? We're going to have that dominion in the kingdom. We're going to be the 144,000, the number of the prophets, is going to be that governing body in the kingdom of heaven. It says, blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceeding glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. You see that? And we're reading an account right here in Jeremiah 37 where they're persecuting the prophets before us, the prophets in the ancient. Okay? So now we're at verse 19, and he says, well, let's read 18 again. Moreover, Jeremiah said unto King Zedekiah, what have I offended against thee, or against thy servants, or against this people, that ye have put me in prison? Where are now your prophets which prophesied unto you, saying, the king of Babylon shall not come against you, nor against this land? So Jeremiah is calling him out, like, yo, where's the prophets that says nothing bad was going to happen? And that's what we're going to be doing. If we're in these situations, We're going to be like, oh, okay, go listen to these false prophets who's not warning anything. They're not warning you. They're not warning. This is really a message to our people. Go call on your fake Jesus. Go call on your fake ministers, your fake priests, your false prophets that have said that there's no harm going to come to Babylon, America. Go listen to those dudes. Where are they at now? Right? When the calamity starts to hit these people. All right, verse 20. Therefore, hear now, I pray thee, O my Lord the King, let my supplication, and supplication means prayer, I pray thee, be accepted before thee, that thou cause me not to return to the house of Jonathan the scribe, lest I die there. So he did have one request for the king, which he was like, yo, don't send me back to Jonathan's house. That I'm gonna die there. That dude's not even feeding me. You know, and you read the conditions in this chapter. It was a hellhole. There was mire in the dungeon. It was just nasty, unfittable place to live and stay. Right? And that's, hey, some of us might be put in some fucked up situations. But if you're not built up in the spirit, how are you going to endure? Okay? Verse 21. Then Zedekiah the king commanded that they should commit Jeremiah into the court of the prison, that they should give him daily a piece of bread out of the baker's street, until all the bread in the city were spent. Thus Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison. Okay? So, you know, the Zedekiah, he did something somewhat righteous here, because he granted the prophet Jeremiah a request, okay? So, which was, he didn't send him back to Jonathan the scribe's house as a prison. He sent him back to the court of the prison, which was an actual prison, and he actually also gave him, it says, a daily piece of bread out of the baker's street. So he was actually being fed, okay? And that's the thing, that if you put your trust in Yahweh B'Shem Yoshai, even if we get put in these type of situations, well, guess what? The Most High Yahweh is going to preserve us. He's going to take care of us. He's going to, you might have, he might put favor on the guard that is at your prison or your jail or your FEMA camp, whatever. He might put a spirit of favor on the guards, or the wardens, or the keepers of the jail, whatever you want to call them, right? And that they take care of you, and that's the spirit that we're moving in. No matter what situation we come into, we always, at the end of the day, we know that Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai got our back, okay? So no matter what position we're put in, brothers, just remember to rejoice, because the kingdom of heaven is ours if we're being persecuted for righteousness' sake. So with that, I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahushai, Ba'Hashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge Al Akyam, who are pushing this truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. And Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.